Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gents. Welcome to another episode of Big Red's Rants and Ramblings. Today, let's talk about fear. What is fear? Why do people feel fear? Fear is defined by the Webster Dictionary as a noun, an unpleasant emotion caused by belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. Or it could be a verb. Be afraid of someone or something as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. That's what it's defined as by the Webster Dictionary. Fear causes a part in your brain to perceive something as though it was a threat or a danger. It could cause you to freeze in your tracks and just irrationally just be like a what's the thing I'm thinking of? It could be like a partial paralysis where you just can't move. It could trigger the fight or flight response in you, where you want to fight whatever fears you, or you just want to run from it. It could cause you to feel anxious. It could mess with your anxiety level. It could stress you. I mean, fear can do a lot of stuff. And then when you're talking about fear, you can't go without talking about phobia or phobias, which is nothing more than the scientific name associated with different fears, like social phobia. You're afraid of social stuff, or arachnophobia. You're afraid of spiders. You know, I mean, phobia is just something, a clinical word that they use to attach to a fear to clinically diagnose someone. Now, there are many of phobias, many of fears. Some of them are ridiculous, or some of them will seem ridiculous to us, but not to the other person. The other person who experiences this, it's like hell on earth to some people. You know, I've got a friend I've got a few friends that are afraid of clowns. I don't get it. You know, but to them, it's terrifying. I asked one of them one time, what's the deal with clowns? Why are you afraid of clowns? And their answer was, because they look happy, painted up like that, but you don't know what they're really thinking. You don't know what's going on in their mind. You don't know what's going on behind that persona or that smile. And then my only logical explanation or answer towards that was, you could look at a person walking down the street with no clown makeup on and have the same thought. You know, you don't know what that person's up to. You don't know if that person that smiled at you when you're walking through the grocery store or the mall is not a psychopath that can kill you. I mean, so to be afraid of clowns, I just don't get it. But, you know, I do fear certain things. You know, you look at me, I'm big and burly, I got a big ass beard, I'm tatted up, I'm hefty, I'm bulky. You would think to yourself that somebody of my physical stature and the way I carry myself, I wouldn't be afraid of anything. But I'm just like everybody else. I've got fears, and I'll fill you in on some of my fears. There's no shame to my game, but my fears all have to do with a certain topic, I would guess you would say. I have the fear of growing old and lonely and dying alone. I mean, let's face it, we come into this world alone. I know we're going to leave the world alone 90% of the times. But I just had a great aunt who passed away a few months back, and she was surrounded by, her husband, her daughters, her grandchildren. I mean, so theoretically, she didn't die alone. She was surrounded by people. When I say I fear of growing old and lonely is, I fear that I'm going to be alone the rest of my life. That I will not have a significant other. And that I'll just die old and alone. Or maybe not even old. I could get hit by a bus leaving the house today. I don't know. But I just have that fear that I'm going to die alone. My other fear is connected to that same fear, and it just takes it one step further, that I'm going to die alone, and whoever finds my corpse or body or whatever you want to call a dead person, it's not going to be for weeks, maybe months later. And to add upon that fear, I fear that not only am I going to grow old and lonely and die alone, and that I won't be found, and then I fear that I won't be found for weeks, maybe months later. I fear that when I die, nobody's going to care. I also fear, and when I say that nobody cares, it's like I fear that I'm not going to be missed. And I've got some valid points and reasons behind that. I've got an extended family. Most of them don't care. Most of them don't call. As a matter of fact, 99.9% of them don't call. They don't care. And I get it. People are busy with their own lives and their own close-knit part of their own family, that they don't think beyond that or think about their extended family. I get it. I also fear that when I die, that I haven't left my mark on the world. Yeah, I made some videos about 20 years ago. I made a comedy crank call tape. I've written 2 books. Neither of them are published. I don't know how to get that done, but yeah, I fear that I haven't left my mark on society or the world. I also fear that I'm going to be sort of like my grandfather and my grandmother when they died, and my father and my mother. Not have nothing really to pass down to my son, other than, okay, here's a bill for the funeral. Those are some of the things I fear. And those all have to revolve around dying or death. But I have some other fears. I have the fear of my own brain. Now you're gonna say to me, well, Big Red, what do you mean you fear your own brain? I fear the way my brain works. And when I say that, it's just like, let me see if I could give you an example. Okay, for example, I think about things in my past that were happy times. And when I think about them now, they make me sad. Because I would like those times again. And it doesn't seem like it'll happen. Like my teenage years, yeah, I had some troubles in my teenage years. I mean, which teenage kid doesn't have teenage angst and teenage anxiety and stuff like that? But for the most part, looking back, I hated school, but my high school and middle school years and like freshly out of high school years, those were some of the best years of my life. And it was all downhill from there. Other than my son. And so yeah, I think back to the days of yesteryear. And most people think back on good times and it makes them happy. Not me. It makes me sad. Because I know I'll never have those days again. I also fear that another example of how I fear the way my brain works. Like I can't shut it off. Like if some people try to go to sleep or they go to sleep, they're like, hey, I'm going to bed. Go lay down 5 minutes, they sleeping. Not me. I'm always worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. What do I need to get done? Am I going to have enough money to pay my bills? Just my normal bills, utility and whatever. Because I try not to make any excess bills. I have no more credit cards. So I don't make unexpected bills, or I should say I don't make any bills through credit. But I also worry that I drive a 10-year-old car, and if something were to happen to it, I worry, where am I going to get the money to fix that? Where am I going to get the money for a new one? And when I say new, I'll never be able to afford a brand new car again. I mean, new to me. The car I drive now, that's probably my last new car ever. So I fear things like that. I fear, am I going to have enough food for when my son comes over? Am I going to have, this or that for my son? I just fear the way my brain works. For instance, I could watch a movie that I've seen 1,000,000 times in the past, and it didn't affect me in the past, and then all of a sudden I watch it these days and my brain's like, that's sad, and it just makes me sad. So my brain works real weird, and sometimes I just get screwed up thoughts. I'm glad that I don't act upon some of those, because that could be another whole another can of worms. For instance, about 4 or 5 months ago, I was driving somewhere, and here in Houston, they got feeder roads that go one direction. Like when I lived in New Orleans, the service road, or what they call here feeder roads, went two directions on both sides. Here in Houston, it's a 3-lane feeder next to a 6-lane interstate. And I was on the feeder road, and I didn't realize that the lane that I was in ended, because I was at a part of town that I really don't go to often, or what have you. And it's in rush hour. I'm trying to get over. And I roll down my window. There's a guy next to me in the car. He's in a truck. I look over. I said, "Excuse me, sir. Can I get over?" He looked at me, and he just said, "No." I looked at him and said, "Really?" I said, "This lane ends. I didn't know that. I'm not familiar with this part of the road. Can I please get over?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So I kept inching up, and then I started cutting in front of him. I cut my wheel in front of him, and he just kept going like he was going to run into me. Now, 20 years ago, he would have been in a world of hurt. Because in my mind, I looked at him and I was thinking, "Go ahead, keep going, smart ass. I'll get out this car, I'll pull my gun out and put it in your face, and I'll fucking shoot you right in the fucking head, right here on the fucking freeway." 20 years ago, I might have done it. If having a kid has mellowed me out, but I still fear some of those thoughts that just pop into my head. And that's how my brain works. Sometimes, I think nutty crap. I'm just glad I don't react upon it. So, yeah, those are the things that I fear. The way my brain works. I fear the fact that I'm going to die old and alone. I fear the fact that when I do die, I didn't leave my mark on the world or society. I fear the fact that when I do die, I'm not going to be found for days, weeks, or months. And I fear the fact that nobody's going to care. Or I'm not going to be missed. That's what fears me. What fears you guys? Let me know down in the comments. What do you fear? There's a subscription bar down there too. Also, subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't care which one you want to hit me with. I could take it. That I don't fear. But I prefer these better. Also, as always, tell your ma, tell your pa, tell your greasy grandma. Thanks for watching. Share this video with your family and friends. You can follow me on Twitter or on Facebook. The link to those pages are down below. There's also a link to all my other videos down there to my channel. Again, thanks for watching, and until next time, just love one another. This has been Big Red for another one of Big Red's Rants and Ramblings, and I'll see y'all next time. Thank you.